Are on. It says we're being live streamed. Awesome. And I'll be on camera in a minute. And Karma, do you want to welcome people in?
Yes, I need to get my Substack going really quick so I can see who's joining.
Yeah, I don't think my Substack's connected. Hadn't thought about that. Oh, look, accept invitations. Awesome.
Yeah, that's what I need as well.
And close the Substack. Well, okay, so I have to go into Substack first. Newbies, I'm a newbie to Substack.
We
Might as
all
well
are.
admit it. Um,
Okay.
Where do I find the
I'm in.
invite?
Jackie,
Good.
go to Subject notification. There you will see Arab Nation is inviting you to join live or something like
Oh, okay, I
that.
found it
You need
finally.
to view
Yes,
that.
thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, join live
Hey,
Karma, did
video.
you?
Nero.
Host has
Good to
not
see
initiated the live
you.
video yet. It says the host has not initiated the live video yet.
Okay. Let me check.
While
It's
you
I
do
can
showing
see
that.
invitation is live.
Karma accepted.
Yeah, Karma accepted it. And Jackie,
Mhm.
can you refresh your activities in Substack and try to accept the invitation again?
Okay. All right. It still says the host has not initiated the live video yet.
Okay.
That is strange.
Just some quick housekeeping, you guys.
So
Back and try
sometimes it
to.
happens, Jackie. You need to refresh a
Yeah.
couple of times.
Yeah. Just close the tab and reopen it and try to
Yeah.
find the
Accept it
notification
again.
again,
Yeah.
because we can't send it again. It can be sent once before going live. So I mean, there are some technical issues happen. Sometimes we accept the invitation, but it doesn't sync with the host. It might happen. So let's try one more time and then move forward.
Yeah, I'm closing out the whole app and coming back in and accepting again, and then it still says the host has not initiated the live video yet. So let's just move on. It's okay. It's fine. It's not a big deal. Thank you for trying to help me with that. And Karma, back to you, because I think you can see who's coming into the room, and I can't right this second.
Yes.
So please go ahead.
Yes, so we have neurodivergent. I'm actually familiar with neuro. I said hello. We have Lisa, a native Jewel, CMDR Cool, Plum Hammond. Welcome, you guys.
Very happy to have everyone
today,
here.
this is Women's Suffragette Saturdays. This was kind of put together really fast, so please bear with us and all of the technical things that may get in the way. Can everyone hear me okay? I would like to ask that.
We hear you loud and clear.
Yay! Sometimes my headphones can be finicky, so I just want to make sure. Hello, Deborah. Welcome. So are we going to be letting others join in the Zoom today, Ashfaq or Rakesh?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
So in the background, Rakesh and Reiko is working. Also, I'll be working as well to share it with the ladies that we know. So hey, Patricia.
Patricia.
Welcome back. And yeah, we are also sending out to the people we don't know. So you guys keep talking. Jackie, I sent you the Substack live link on our Substack chat. So you guys keep
Okay.
talking. I'm gonna turn off my camera and invite people so that they can come in. Okay.
Hey,
Okay.
Aaron.
Yeah.
Hey, Jackie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I will come on camera here in just a minute. I guess I can do that now. All right. So, hi everybody. I am Jackie Ampro, and hi Patricia. And I can't see everybody on Substack yet because I have to go do that, look at that. But I'm an applied anthropologist. I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and that makes me one of only a handful in the English speaking world. So I do both the culture and language and all the things that make us human, and also look at the subconscious mind and subconscious behavior. So that I'm going to have a lot to say today that might be surprising to some folks, and um, these are important topics, and they have a lot to do with democracy and how it works. We're in very trying times, and it is a time when we need to come together, and how we come together makes all the difference, because democracy is the people and we're the people, and how we relate to each other makes all the difference. So my daughter Xochitl is also in the room here on Zoom, and she and I work together in our brand is Positively Hub, Humans Undergoing Breakthrough, and our company is Transformation Road Trip LLC. And we'll be on Substack and YouTube very soon with a number of things having to do with humans undergoing breakthrough. So, Xochitl, do you want to say anything about yourself? Do you want to introduce yourself, please?
Briefly, I will come on camera in a little while, but in case everyone is wondering, because one of the most common questions I get is, how do you pronounce your name? My name is Xochitl, and it comes from the Aztec language Nahuatl, and in English it translates to flower, like a blossom, or something precious. I am, well, I'm a certified franchise advisor, but that is a side side thing. And mostly that training is like a mini MBA, and it taught me a lot, but franchising is not my main focus. So for me, the not sure if it has been posted yet, but we will introduce later, inviting you all to post videos and share them with us of what democracy means to you. So I will share that link when I can find it later. I'm about the heart and bringing together the head and the heart and our whole humanity forward into the future, because we have so much more potential and ability to move into a brighter future for all of us that works for everyone, and not without some foibles, because humans are human. We always will be learning and growing and expanding, but returning to the deep connection with our greatest adaptation, which is cooperation and collaboration. But that begins with strong individuals who are fully human. So that's my way of introducing myself this time.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Patricia, do you want to tell us a little bit about you and what brought you here to our meeting today?
I've been interacting off and on with you. I've got a number of things going on, and so I hadn't made all the meetings. But I'm very interested in this movement and in pursuing the work that you're doing. I'm a retired licensed psychologist, and so I've
Awesome.
worked with people for a long time, and through COVID and the loss of some major people in my life and my family, I kind of decided I needed to retire and try to heal myself, and then also as I'm getting better and getting back into serving people, which is my first love. So I'm glad to be here, and I want to keep getting these emails and getting more consistent in attending the meetings. My goal.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Wonderful. I'm really happy you're here because I think that mental health practitioners are on the front, are frontline workers at this point. And especially with we're going to be talking about today later in our agenda. So I'm very glad you're here. And yeah, so maybe you can kind of tag team with me a bit today too, because we're going to be talking about a very heavy topic, which is this recent news, which is clearly something that's not really news in that it's been going on for a long time, but people are only just now hearing about it, and that's this Rape Online Academy situation that we have essentially on the internet, men teaching men to abuse women further. And I'm not going to get into the details of that here at the beginning, but what does that mean for us, and what does it mean for democracy, and how can we address it in a way that does not traumatize us as women and does not grow divides that make authoritarianism have an easier time getting rid of our democracy. So that's kind of the topic, a little preview we're going to talk about in our meeting today. So I'm trying to also get a feel for whether we are ready to get into our agenda, because we do have a little bit of an agenda you mapped out yesterday, and maybe we should go ahead and start. We're about 13 minutes into the live stream, I think. What do you think, Karma and Xochitl? Do you think we ought to begin with our agenda now?
Gotta unmute myself. Yeah, I think so. We've got about 32 people or so here. So yeah, I think that'd be a good idea. So Draco, did
Okay,
you want to start with the ground rules video, just so everyone is aware? Yes, no, maybe so.
Well, here's what I'm thinking is that maybe we want to go with why IOD nations and talk about what it is and the how briefly, and what we can get to maybe the ground rules after we come back through those things. Let me just post this in our Zoom chat so we all have it here in Zoom, and then maybe somebody can post it to the Substack chat as well, and then we'll have our agenda kind of laid out. So hold on a second while I get this into the chat. And well, I might not be able to put the word agenda in there. I mean, okay, here we go. And all right, so pressing the wrong button. Give me a second here. All right, so here's our in the chat and Zoom what we've talked about. We'll come to the ground rules here in a minute. So we're going to talk about why IOD nations first, and what and how about IOD nations really briefly. I guess we could skip and go to the ground rules, but I think we'll have more people have joined by then when we get to it. and why women would want their own IOD nation, which is what we're talking about building here on Saturdays and Suffragette Saturdays. So, it, Draco, if you're operating the slides, is it possible to go to something on why we're doing IOD nations first? Is it okay to start there, please? Do you mind? Well, he's looking for that. Basically, yeah, I'm pretty new to IOD nations, but it was founded about 10 years ago by Joel Kamon, Kamon, and this idea was taken from, really kind of lifted from Taiwan, where Taiwan's youth had a revolution of sorts in 2015, where they were not happy with the 9% approval rating of the government. 9% of the Taiwanese population approved of what the government was doing. And because we had technology to turn that around, the youth of Taiwan said, hey, we need to take our democracy online and give everybody a chance to have input, have a say in what our government's doing, and to tell the government what we want to have happen. And so in the last a little over 10 years now, it's been about 12 years, I guess, Taiwan went from a 9% approval rating, where their population approved of the government, only 9%, to 70%, simply by building a system that allowed the Taiwanese people to participate online in their democracy. So that became something called small v, like virtual, and then Taiwan in all caps, V Taiwan. And that system, that online democracy, could, Joel thought, spread across the globe and not be bound by the borders of nation states, that you could have communities of people globally participating in an online democracy that would further the needs and wants and desires of the people in that community. So you could have a global nation of women that is not bound by nation state borders, and have women unite across the globe in conversation, discussion, and group action in a democratic fashion to talk about what it is we need, and not just talk about it, but make it happen through online actions, emails, petitions, boycotts, finding ways to unite together to do the things that to force the kinds of change that would make the world work better for that democratic community. And I think most women want the world to work better for everyone. So here's the thing: is that why would women want their own IOD nation? Notice how the Epstein class is not bound by nation state borders. They are cross-border all the time. And so they are doing things that are clearly not in the best interests of women and children, and not in the best interests of most people. And so if they have power because they are taking over with their authoritarian types of governments and getting rid of democracy wherever they can, then we need to take into our hands a democratic way of approaching overturning that, because they should not have a say in how the rest of the world lives, when they clearly don't want the world to work for everyone. So thank you so much, Draco. I see that he's put in the chat that he's ready to share the IOD intro, and he also put in the chat here on Zoom. I'm just going to read this for those who are on Substack and can't read the chat in Zoom. The Taiwan's V Taiwan came out of the Sunflower Movement in 2014, where they went from a 9% approval rating to 70% government approval in just 10 years. And 80% of the deliberations for governmental policy led to decisive government action In other words, the people's voices were finally really being heard in Taiwan. And that was done online using technology like we are using now, and like the website, this beautiful IOD Nations website that these guys here with us who are in the background providing our tech support, they built this website, and you're going to love it. It's beautiful and it works. So in the chat, Draco also put a new women's nation is rising, not on land, but online. Once united online, we can lead the world. And so the other thing that Draco put in the chat was that when the pro-democracy world unites online, everything changes. Are the world's women ready to change everything? Well, I'm one of the world's women, and I invite you to consider how we can come together and change everything to make the world work for 100% of humanity. That's the mission I'm up for. And I suspect you wouldn't be here if you were not up for that mission too. So I'm going to ask Draco to go ahead and please share the screen and show us more about IOD Nations as we begin here.
Hi, I'm Joel, founder of IODNations.org, International Online Democratic Nations.org, modeled after the Sunflower Movement in Taiwan. I am asking you to support Deborah, who is leading the online Suffragette Saturday movement as a part of the No Kings Marches by registering pro-democracy women from across the world to unite online democratically. Here's a message from Deborah that we ask you to consider.
There is no limit. Happy Make Women's History Month. That's what every historic woman would tell us at this largest protest ever. Make history. I'm Deborah, founding leader of Online Women's Democracy and Online Suffragette Saturday. Every woman at this No Kings protest is looking for a way to fight for our rights. I found that way to fight back. Please don't leave this protest without accomplishing something. Women, all of us have to unite together. I won't abuse your email. Please take action. Imagine a bold new future where women are leading the world democracy. It all starts with you sending an email to join the world's women. As Michelle Obama said, there is no limit to what we as women can accomplish. Please send just one email to Deborah at iodnations.com that says, I support online citizen and women-led democracy. Or go to my Substack address at Assemblywoman Deborah Mazzarelli. That's Mazzarelli, sort of like the cheese. And have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Make democracy offensive, what's the price? Power to the people, not the roll of dice. Unite online, ignite the fight. Blow this shit up, bring the wrong to light. Algorithm scheming got your mind in a cell. Scrolling through the circus while the earth yell.
Thanks for playing that clip. And I honestly don't know whether Deborah is able to be with us or is planning to be with us. I think that she has gone on to other things at the moment. So I would recommend just going to the website and signing up there to, to get emails and notifications about IOD Nations. I'm guessing that that might be the best way forward. Karma, do you know what else, whether there's another email address that people should send messages to about our women's suffragette Saturdays?
Right now, they have the hello at IOD Nations website. I can get it. We'll put it into the chat on Substack and in the Zoom as well. But that is a video that will need editing, but it was good enough to introduce who we are and what we are trying to do. Deborah is no longer with us, but she was here and she is still doing great things. So Yeah. And I think, yep, the hello@iodnations.org, they just put it in the chat. That's where you can reach out for anything right now at this moment until we have a separate email established for the Suffragette Saturdays.
Yeah, I think one of the things we should point out is that anytime you're starting something really new, which this is really new, anytime you're starting something really new, you're going to see a lot of what might you call it? Kind of
Commotion.
well, rough
Hiccups.
spots where yeah, hiccups. That's a good term for it. That yeah, so we actually don't want people to send emails to Deborah@iodnations.org, do we? Because that's Deborah's not involved in this. So um maybe maybe Draco, we could remove that from. It's Deborah is still with us? Well, that's news to me. I'm glad. I would love to meet her because I've come on since she was not here. But in any case, I do want to encourage you all to consider that when we're starting something new, there may be times when people come and go because we're all just getting our footing, right? We're all just trying to get our footing, just figure out what's our role going to be in it and how much time we actually have to devote to this new thing. You know, I know that for me, I won't be able to be here every single Saturday because of other things in my life. But the beauty of a group is that we get to have enough people eventually who are able to pick up the slack when somebody can't be there. Um, and we invite you to come on board and help guide this group because we need more people to spread the tasks around. Many hands make light work. I heard that when I was growing up, and it was true 60 something years ago. It's true today. Many hands make light work. And we have a lot of ways to make our work lighter now than ever before, but we need you. You are the one that makes all this go. So let's see here. I'm going to go back to our agenda because I'm scrolling back through the chat. Um, so we talked a little bit about what IOD Nations is, how it got founded, and why would women want their own IOD nation. This might be a great time to set the ground rules. Unless, Karma, do you feel like we need to say anything further about introducing IOD Nations or women's the Suffragette Saturdays? What do you think? Do we miss anything? Is there anything else we should say?
I don't think so. I think you explained it beautifully and definitely much better than I could have. So thank you for that. I think we probably have a good foundation set and can move on from there.
Okay, well, thank you. And honestly, Karma, I have to disagree with you about whether you would be able to do it as well as I could. I am certain that you can. I've seen you on these meetings before, and you do an excellent job. You're articulate, and you're also able to talk without being in that kind of heightened emotional state that makes everybody else feel more hyped up, you know, and caffeinated, let's say. And right now we need calm. We need a calm sense. You're welcome. We need that kind of calm because what we're up against is designed to put our nervous systems on edge. And later in this meeting, I'm going to explain why that's a problem and why someone would want our nervous systems on edge. So let me go on here and just ask Draco, do you mind putting the slide back up about the ground rules, please? We'll go ahead and dive into that. While he's working on getting the ground rules slide on. Basically, these rules are to help us have a safe meeting. experience, a safe, supportive meeting experience. So we'll go through these slides, go through this slide in a minute. And so please go ahead and play the little video, Draco, that has the audio.
Oops. Where'd it go?
He'll bring it back, I'm sure. Okay.
Welcome to IOD Nations Live. Before we get started, here are a few ground rules that keep this space safe, respectful, and powerful for everyone. Number 1, respect every participant. No exceptions. Number 2, raise your hand in Zoom before speaking. Wait for the host to call on you. Number 3, mute yourself when you are not speaking. Number 4, one person speaks at a time. No interrupting. Number 5, stay on topic. Keep it relevant. Number 6, no hate speech. No harmful language, 0 tolerance. Number 7, hosts have final authority. If they step in, that decision is final. And number 8, come with good faith. We are all here for the same reason, to build citizen-led democracy together. These rules exist to protect every voice in this room. Respect them, and let's build something extraordinary together. Welcome to IOD Nations.
Excellent. Thanks so much. That helps us get started here. You might see among us hosts, meaning Karma and Xochitl and I, we may step in as the other one is talking because we have an agreement in advance that we may help each other through the conversation we're going to have. And so that's an agreement among just the three of us. And just wanted to tell you that in advance. So we're, I'm looking back through the chat here. And so Xochitl, you kind of introduced this idea already about one of the actions, one of the types of actions that women who are internationally, online, democratically might want to take. And these are actions that other people in their IOD nations could also take, right? But you kind of wanted to introduce the action that the three of us, meaning Karma and you and I, have already discussed, to make a video about, to post online as a way to plant seeds about democracy. Xochitl, would you please talk about what that action is, what it will look like, and how other people can participate in this action?
Thank you for that segue. So, democracy. What does it mean to you? What I would love to see and what I would love to help spread the word about democracy through international online democratic nations is having each one of us listening, each one of us speaking, answer the question on video that you film yourself on your phone or whatever device that works for you, answering the question, what does democracy mean to me? And I suppose it would be, the question I would ask myself anyway is, why is it important? And why is democracy important? Let me clarify. So what I envision when I first had this idea in a meeting in the last week or so, was that we could gather all of these videos. If you would tag IOD Nations on Substack when you post your video so we can find you, and we would love to get your permission to include your video, a clip of your video in a video montage that we can share on our live streams and on our Substack pages. so that we can spread the momentum of the idea and the joining together of people, of joining together and organizing democratically. Because democracy isn't just a structure, it is built on people's activity and people asserting their agency to be in community. It's just democracy is also a structure to say that everyone's voice matters, and you help build that. So, if I'm not sure who in our tech team could help with this, but in the background, um, I would love to give out publicly on Substack where to share a video that you film answering this question of what does a democracy mean to me? Um, so that we can see you and find you, um, and get your permission to um, add it to a video montage that we create. And I think that pretty much covers that idea. Is there anything else you guys would like to add?
I don't think so. It's a simple action, but it's important. Do you want to talk about why seeding the internet with why democracy is important to us? Why work? What will that do? What will the action accomplish?
Part of what it will accomplish is people seeing and understanding that democracy lives in the human heart and begins as a framework to build activity in the world, to build change. Democracy is a movement, and we need to be able to identify one another that this person believes in democracy, this person understands and has a relationship with democracy, and can be able to communicate that and connect with other people in relationship that want democracy. We need it being able to see one another, and that it makes a that democracy means something to people. The people who currently hold seats of office need to see that citizens around the world care, and that we're not going to rely only on those people in office to make decisions for us anymore. Because I don't know about you guys, but I'm seeing what's happening in the United States, and I don't feel like we have representation, true representation, of what we want as people. Um, so those are a few things that come to my mind when you ask me the question, why does it matter? Well, it matters because we connect with like-minded people, we gain visibility um, around what democracy means to us as individuals who are coming together to form our own international online democratic nations. Is there more that anyone else would like to add?
We've got here joining us on Zoom. We have about a few people who have joined us here, and maybe one of you have something you'd like to say about what democracy means to you. And while you're thinking about that, I think maybe each of us who are hosting could say what democracy means to us. So, Xochitl, can you take like, 2 or 3 sentences and kind of summarize what democracy means to you. And the other thing I want to say about these videos is that you can do really short little videos. 30 seconds, 90 seconds is a lot of time actually to talk about briefly what democracy means to you. And that's all it takes to get your message out about what democracy means to you. You can do an hour long video. Want to just plant a simple idea, but simple seed of an idea of what democracy means to you, it can be really brief. So this is not your video for what democracy means to you, but you could at least give people an idea of what you might want to make your video about. You want to talk about what democracy means to you for a minute?
Actually, so I was just trying to message one of our tech folks in the background here because yesterday we were having a discussion in one of our other IOD nations meetings, and they created a short video of what I was saying yesterday about what democracy means to me. And I've kind of said it in different words in inviting everyone to create your own video so that we can see you and connect with you around democracy. To put it in brief though, because I'm on my phone and I cannot I can't do the multiple page window view thing where on a computer you can see multiple things. I can see one screen at a time. I can't go onto Substack and go post it or try to find it and play it for you all. But one of our tech folks, Draco, is saying that he could share his screen and play the video. Why don't we do that? If you can do that, that would be wonderful. Do you want to cue that up now, Draco? I am inspired by recognizing that we are all citizens of humanity. And each one of us counts. Our ideas of nations in the old form of geographical borders is more about trying to organize people in that nation than it is about recognizing that the global human family and how we interact on the local level, not just tied to geographical location. For me, I see as a manifestation, an outpicturing of agency. Individuals who realize that they can exert or assert some control, but not control over others. That's dominance. I'm talking about control that is power with. When you honor yourself and that you matter and that everyone around you matters, that you're here for a reason, and that we can collectively drive our story and our structures. What is government but a set of agreements, a set of expectations, a set of standards that are all outpicturings of ideas, thoughts, emotions. So answering the question, why is it that democracy is important? It's because we are important. Because we as individuals with agency who can self-determine, we get to be here and do that collectively. And that matters. And the place where you are in your community immediately, we have to work together to recognize that, oh yeah, I'm actually part of this global human family and I'm part of my community. So how do I want to direct myself and direct my attention in this world to create a better community? My question for us is, what vision of the future are we going to dare to believe in? Because we matter. And we are borrowing. We are on borrowed time, folks. Our lives are short. Why don't we make it the most beautiful time so that we can give it to the next generation?
That was awesome, by the way. I don't know, you kind of hit me emotionally, so I'm just trying to gather my thoughts after that, but I just wanted to make sure that you knew that that was beautiful, and it really hit me where it matters, for lack of a better term.
Thank you. I hope that that is where that message lands for other people too, because each of us needs to be reminded that we count, that our being here now at this time is a gift, and that we get to enjoy it and share it with love and wisdom and caring for ourselves as individuals and for one another, for our collective. Humanity is powerful. And we're resilient, yet we are so impressionable. And we need to be reminded of the power of our wholeness, of the integration of all of our being, and remind each other that even when we feel not enough or like we don't bring forward the world that we want, that we have strength within us that we can remind each other of, and that we can lean on each other and support one another. Because we are so much more powerful together than we are separately. And as individuals, we have the gift of all of the family of people who surrounded us to bring us to this point that helped shape our journey, to remind us of our inner strength and to help us develop those skills and those inner resources. So that's what I hope to remind people of. When I say that we matter, that's what I mean, is that each one of us is here to stand in our power as resilient, whole people. And that we can do that for ourselves and for one another, because the greater we stand in our love, our agency, the more we influence creating the world that works for everyone. So I hope that is helpful. Um, I want to know, um, we have Patricia here still with us. Did you
Yeah.
want to share anything that has come up for you, but particularly if there is something you'd like to share about what democracy means to you?
I got lost thinking about what you were saying about and thinking about what democracy matters to me. And I just put it in the chat. I think it means everyone has an equal opportunity to share in decision making and works for the protection of all citizens. Our voices matter, freedoms matter, laws of mankind matter. And these have been lost in the last few generations, it seems. And I'm going to work on my statements in my video, okay, as I go forward. But thank you for what you put out. It helps.
Well, I really appreciate, yeah, well, I really appreciate what you've just shared because that is the core of it. And you said it really succinctly. So I think that's beautiful. And what I
Thank
know
you.
I look really young, but
I'm very
I
old.
also, but
Okay.
here's the thing though, is that democracy takes everyone.
Yes.
It doesn't, it isn't exclusive to one age bracket or one
No.
gender or any of that. Democracy is about human beings, people from everywhere, and being able to communicate and listen and hear each other and ask questions and be curious and be supportive. Even when you don't understand fully what someone else is going through, being curious matters and doing your best to try to hear and understand what other people are saying matters. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I look forward to hearing your full video because the what you said was beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, are we ready for the next piece? Because I haven't gotten to look at the agenda again, but I suspect there's something else that we need to work on before we move on.
Yeah, I think so. So I totally had to move everything, my setup, everything. I forgot my charger where I was. So someone take over for me for a second. I will be right back.
Okay, no worries. I'm here. So Jackie, uh, we have somebody new. Siguel Fryer, welcome to the conversation. You can unmute yourself, tell us where you are from, while we wait for Karma to come back. No pressure. I mean, if you don't want to talk, that's fine. We are going to wait for you, but we will hear from Patricia or Jackie, whoever wants to speak.
Patricia, did you have anything else to add?
No, I'm still following the original streams of trying to figure out what democracy really is. I think we tend to want to think that I'm afraid a number of people might think that democracy means Democrats, and we've got to get away from these narrow labels that single out groups of people as being the authority and being the ones to guide us, because they aren't doing the job we need. And we need to get back to participatory democracy where everyone recognizes they have a role.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I also think that we need to consider what democracy means, because the concept of democracy is just a theory. It's just a an idea, but it it matters what we believe democracy can do for us and why we want it. And from my point of view, when I make my little video about what democracy means to me, I'm going to say something about democracy is the people, that the relationships between us. Democracy is a set of rules of the game for how we treat each other. And when you think of democracy broadly, if you zoom out and look at it from, as a bigger picture, it's really about how do we relate to each other? How do we resolve our differences? How do we achieve our mutual goals? And how do we listen to each other? How do we take into account each other's needs? Democracy is a system for doing that isn't top down. It's horizontal, where everybody gets an equal voice. And that makes it different from authoritarianism, where there's somebody at the top or telling everybody else how it's going to be. And we cite of what democracy means of it. So for me, there's a purpose to democracy. Democracy is not just an ideal that I want to have because it sounds pretty. Democracy is something that in my life made a difference for me and my family and my community. And for me, it also makes a difference for how the world works, whether the works for everyone or whether the world only works for a few. And authoritarianism is voting for the world working for a few. And democracy is voting for world working for everyone, ultimately. And the problem is that we've gotten so caught up in the divisions and what we do not have in common that we forget that we actually have more in common than what divides us. And the reason I bring that up is that Caesar Augustus, I studied ancient Rome when I was in high school because I took Latin for 3 years. And Caesar said that Gaul was divided into 3 parts. Why was that important? Gaul was of the British Isles, the Scotland, England. Gaul was divided into 3 parts. Well, it was divided into 3 parts in part to conquer it. The more you divide people, the less power they have. And that is going to inform our discussion today, later, about this online rape academy, as it's been called. Because when we are divided, we have less power. And that's the thing, is that who wants us to be divided? And why do humans tend towards tribalism? Why do we accept those divisions? And I want to talk about that as well. But democracy for me means how we come together to make choices more consciously. How do we choose to be with each other in community? Because we do affect each other. So that's why I think democracy is important, so we can make those choices together. All right. Karma, did you want to, now that you're back, did you want to say briefly something about what democracy means for you? This is not making your video, but to maybe just give an idea of what other people might want to think about, or how you're thinking about it as they think about making their short video to post on social media and Substack and other places.
Yeah, so I'm not super great with words, but I'll give it my best shot. democracy to me, and to be honest, I never really thought about it that much until now. Like, not now, today, but like this last hell of a year that we've had. It's been a little bit over a year, but I never really thought that I had to think much about it. So for me, I think it's just more just let people decide. Like, I understand that there are, you know, things that need to go to a higher official or whatever, but ultimately, like, say our constitution, I don't there are so many of us. None of us agree on everything. None of us disagree on everything. Like, we can't come together as one, so to say, in that kind of way. And I think that's a big problem right now. I think all of our disagreements are so or such deal breakers that it's just completely shattered. It's like, if I disagree with you on one aspect of this, we just can't do the whole thing. You know, outside of, like, I'm not talking about criminal activity and, that kind of thing. I'm just talking about, like, just normal things, like, for instance, like, just healthcare, and unfortunately, the people in power right now, that's exactly what they want. They want to be able to make every decision for every single person, I think, in the world. I don't even think that they just want to stay in the US. I think they, like, they just want to have the ultimate say. Like, it's their way or it's the highway. There's no negotiating, there's no in between. So having the autonomy to just, speak up and have your basic needs met. I mean, you think about an infant. If you're not meeting the basic needs of an infant, what do? They cry and they cry and they cry. And that's happening right now. I mean, we're not, not everyone is, sobbing every day. Unfortunately, I cry a good bit about the things that are going on and everything that I'm seeing that I don't want to see. But I know that I have to see because I can't let myself get, let myself get to a point to where what I'm seeing is normal. So I have to make myself see, I have to make myself feel it. And I don't have a for sure answer of what democracy should be or what it should look like. And I think that's the point, you know. Um, I think we can I don't know how to articulate what I have in my brain right now. It's sometimes hard, but just, we all want freedom. We all want safety. We all want to breathe clean air, at least most of us. Um, and I don't think anyone should take that away from us. And I don't think that if someone did want to take that away from anyone else, I don't think that that is democracy, and I also don't think that they have good intentions if that's what they're trying to do. So that's for me. That's it.
You brought up some very good points, and so did Patricia too. The democracy is just a word. It's just a concept, a pie in the sky idea, unless we put it into action to actually help people. And you brought up divisions. Divisions are used to control people. That was my point about Caesar in Gaul and dividing Gaul into 3 parts. Because what divides us, I'm going to speak as an anthropologist right now. What divides us is far less as human beings than what unites us. And even when we talk about healthcare and we talk about the big issues about what people need, families at their kitchen tables across the United States, and I would wager around most kitchen tables around the world, they want certain things for their families. Certain things are required: food, housing, healthcare, education, clean water, clean air. The basics of life are what families want and need at the baseline. And we have been led to believe that there's not enough for everyone and that we need to fight over the table scraps, to take that metaphor a little farther, that we have to fight over the crumbs and the table scraps to just get enough to survive, and that we don't deserve to have those things if we don't fight for them, because we're supposed to work for them. Because, well, the truth is, the billionaires don't have to work for any of that. They have access to all of it. And we've had a massive transfer of wealth from the bottom to the top. At the same time, if we look further back, we've also seen a decrease in the world's poverty because of the innovations and the spread of wealth, but it's still been based on the model of scarcity. And I want to talk about that for a second, because we have to zoom out and look at, where did this begin? And it began with the science of economics that started with Thomas Malthus. And Thomas Malthus was the one who said that the world's population is growing and there won't be enough food to feed it. And the basis of economics entirely was built on artificial scarcity. And I'm using artificial as the word for that because Thomas Malthus was wrong. In that period of time, it looked like we were not going to have any new innovations in how to grow food or distribute it. And to Thomas Malthus, it looked like a done deal, that if you looked at the trajectory that the world was on, growing population, stagnant level of food being produced, there would not be enough, that the population would outstrip the ability to produce food. He did not take into account new technology. And so along comes R. Buckminster Fuller, who in his book, The Critical Path, and other books that he wrote, he did the calculations to figure out that, well, not only is there enough food for the growing population of the world, there's an abundance of food and energy for the population of the world. He also figured out that if we had distribution set up properly, we would produce enough sustainable energy that the whole world would have an abundance of energy. And I don't want to get into the technical, the technical things about how he calculated that or how he figured it out, but it completely upends economics. And in the old days, economics was political economics. Politics and economics were not separate fields. However, they became separate fields And I can't even explain why. I'm sure that some of my colleagues in political science and economics would be able to explain that. But I can tell you that the fields were separated as if economics and politics didn't have that much to do with each other. But I'm here to tell you that as an anthropologist who has studied political economics within the anthropology, they have a lot to do with each other because they have a lot to do with power. The power structure is what we're looking at. And Karma, the thing that those in power currently want people to believe is that we don't have much in common, that we can't come together on issues and actually make decisions that will benefit the whole country or the world. And they want it that way. They want it that way because it gets the vote out in a still a democracy that still holds elections. It gets people agitated so that they will donate money to their political candidates uh, and keeps things in the news, which helps to sell ads for the media. It keeps the wheels of commerce running. In other words, it keeps the flow of money continuing while we have less and less say about what our world looks like and how it works. So that is purposeful. And I think it's really important to understand that when people start to focus on what we have in common and what we all want, the divisions start to fall away. And that is the biggest danger to authoritarianism. They need us divided so that we don't come together and resolve anything. Why? Because it makes us lose faith in our institutions. It makes us lose faith in the political process. A lot of people stop voting. A lot of people tune out the news about politics. And the tuning out is happening in large part because our nervous systems are being weaponized against us. If
Yeah.
you put
I used
if you
to
put enough
be I used to be one of those I don't do politics people until Trump came along, and as I've learned, policy is life. I mean, it makes up almost every aspect of our life. And I just wanted to point out Martin in the chat, he said we should allow people to grow their own food at home, but there are actually laws that limit sustainability so billionaires can become wealthier. And there are laws. There are laws in certain communities. You think of an HOA, you can't even have a front yard garden. I mean, or you can't what? You can't grow food? And that was something, and I've heard people say it before, Trump is the symptom.
right.
And I used to be like, nah, I don't know. But the more that I've been involved, the more that I've learned, I'm like, that does sound kind of right, because I just revamped my Substack because I actually want to start diving deeper into women's issues and things like that. And one thing that I put in there was I've just survived for 34 years. And I don't think that I'm alone in that. And so I do believe that he is the Trump administration. I do believe that they are a symptom of the bigger illness or disease, if you will, of oligarchy and patriarchy. Like we've all been fighting over what's left, like there's not enough for all of us. Meanwhile, they are, just, well, first of all, just laughing like, ha ha, look at these people. But they're just, what, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, like they're just taking it all, like, that's why we feel like That's why we feel like we don't have enough, is because they say we don't have enough, but also it's because they're just sucking it dry. They just suck the system dry. The system that should be working for all of us is only working for a few.
I have to agree with you 100%. And this gets to the point that I think we need to look at, is that it is systematic. These are system issues. They're not issues of there's something wrong with us, individually, that we can't make our lives work. The system is intentionally rigged. And you have to look at who is it rigged in favor of, and how are we going to fix that? Because we can't fix it alone. And this is why people drop off from looking at the news, in part, is because they think, well, I can't do anything about that. And people stop voting because they don't think their vote matters. And that's exactly what they want us to think. And I think that not only that, but we're being, all of our buttons are being pushed, to put it in an old way. When I was young, people would talk about pushing your buttons. In other words, triggering you. Now we use the word triggering. They're finding all kinds of ways to trigger us. And I really think it's important to talk about how effective that is and why it's effective. Because if we don't, we're going to miss their tactic, their strategy that is working on so much of the population, to take away our conscious choices. And so I think that's what I particularly want to talk about. So I've said before, I'm a certified hypnotherapist and an applied anthropologist. And I want to talk for just a minute about how our survival mechanism makes us vulnerable to being more suggestible. So Xochitl's got her hand up because you must want to say something. So I'm gonna
Just briefly, because even though I put this in the chat on Zoom, I think it is wise to support one another with positive feedback. And also, I needed to share something that his name on the screen is Kurt, but it's Ashfaq,
Ashfaq.
one of our team in the background who's supporting us with the tech. He also asked me to share something for him. But Karma, I wanted to acknowledge you that when you said that policy is life, that was a beautiful encapsulation of what it is that is happening and how our agreements collectively impact everything that is happening on the human experience level. So I really wanted to acknowledge you on that point. And while I have the mic, before Jackie gets into the survival mechanism and what's happening socially and with our brains and our biology, our physiology, and how we can reclaim our conscious choice, I want to go into the chat and read you something, because Patricia, when she was sharing about what democracy means to her and what it is, Ashfaq, or Kurt, mentioned, let me see if I can find it. Where'd it go?
Okay, let me help you out with it. So, Patricia, I mean, you brought up something important, okay? I've been discussing it with Joel. I mean, democracy doesn't mean the same thing to everybody. It means different things for different people. So I actually wrote in the comments that for a person who lives in a remote village, who doesn't have access to internet, or just a regular ordinary guy like me who's living in a city, I mean, most of us believes that democracy is just a word that politicians use. Actually, I changed my thought. Now I think democracy is a tool, but I'll come back to that later. Uh, so there are people think, things like that. Democracy is just a word that politicians use to oppress us. Okay, and it doesn't like it's a. I don't know what it is, but it's a harmful thing to me. That's their perspective. Now, when I learn more about democracy and you know civic actions and stuff, now I see democracy as a tool to make my voice heard. And I also want to mention that probably Jackie or Patricia, I don't remember who said that, but some of like one of you were talking about people losing their trust. They stop voting. Yes, I did stop voting because I do not trust the institution. So that's all from me. Thank you so much for bringing me in. So go ahead, Jackie or Suchitil.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I appreciate you adding those comments.
Yes, thank you, Ashfaq. And for those who want to know how Ashfaq is spelled, is A, S like Sam, H, F like Frank, A, K. And that's we're working on pronouncing and saying his name correctly ourselves. And we think that names are important. And so Ashfaq is my new pronunciation. And as somebody who's into learning languages, they've had a lot of fun watching me stumble trying to pronounce Ashfaq correctly. And you know why? I blame Joel for that because of the way he introduced how he pronounced your name as a joke. And let
Well,
everybody
this is a
imagine
joke
what.
I've been living throughout
What was
my
that?
whole life, and I don't mind. Okay.
What
Okay.
was
I
it?
mean, okay, so
Well,
Akpak sounds like some vulgar word that I'm not going to say here. You have to imagine it, okay? Something that rhymes with
Oh
Ashpak.
yeah, I see.
Yeah,
The
okay.
first time I heard him say your name, I thought he said Amkosh. So that's what I saved your contact under.
Okay.
And then I finally figured out that that
So
was
actually,
not what it was.
yeah, and I want to say something to Jackie that I believe something Shakespeare said, what's in the name? You know, we can go by any name, but our ideas, they matter if we take actions. Okay, so that's it.
yes, yes. And I want to share something with you guys to help kind of understand why our nervous systems are being weaponized against us and how that is making a big difference. And this is going to play into our conversation in a little bit about, we've mentioned this online rape academy before too, that I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and show you what I'm talking about. So I mentioned I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and one of the things I think people need to understand is that neuroscience is being used against us in marketing and in essentially controlling the population in terms of democracy and whether we participate or not and how we participate. And not just that, but how we see each other as enemies. That's a real issue. So you need to understand that hypnosis is created through 5 elements. And the first element is an overload of message units. Let me explain that. Right now, the news is so much that even people who professionally keep up with the news normally are not able to keep up with it. There are so many changes that are upsetting. Right now, I'm
Sorry.
getting feedback. It's okay.
Sorry.
That must have been you must have had Substack on your feed, right, Karma?
Yeah, I have it pulled up on my phone, and because I'm trying to keep track of comments and talk to the people that I've joined, and I had to restart it because it froze on me, and
Ah,
it was full blast volume when I came back on.
totally get it. Thank you so much for tracking all that for me, because I'm not able to do that. And I'm so glad you've got our backs that way. Thank you. So,
Could you tell us
what? Can't hear you because you're muted now. So,
there we go. Buttons.
yeah,
Buttons.
start
you
over
said.
again.
Would you
Start
give
over,
us
please.
uh, okay. For some reason, it is hard to tell the difference between where that button is on the screen behind my frame where I can see myself. It's just anyway. Would you give us a little introduction as to why we want to learn this part and how it can help us to reclaim our agency
Well,
and our
sure.
calm?
Well, that's just it. So I'll stop this share for a second so I can explain that part, because I didn't make any uh, visual for this. But when we go into survival mode, we actually lose access to the front part of our brains, and it's a physiological reason. It's not a lack of willpower. It's not a lack of intelligence. It's the way our nervous systems are wired. When we go into survival mode, we're preserving the old part of the brain in the backs of our heads, because back here in the back of our heads, the old reptilian brain is where our control centers are for breathing and our heart and our large muscle movement. All of that is back in the very old part of our brain, the back part. And so when you're going into survival mode, you're using a lot of energy. And so the sugar in your blood supply is being shunted, delivered to the old part of your brain and to your muscles, your large muscles. So you can run or fight or, do whatever it is you need to do to survive. And the energy is going to your lungs and your heart. And your brain is using a fair amount of energy too. And your brain is noticing this drop in the blood sugar supply. And so your brain starts to preserve itself by shunting or directing the blood sugar away from, the supply, away from the front of your head, which is the new part of your brain, to keep enough fuel going to the old part of your brain and to your muscles and all of that. And the reason that it does that is so that you can fight or flee or get away or deal with this threat. And threats can be real. You can be standing in front of a saber-toothed tiger or a bus that's about to mow you down, or an ICE agent pointing their gun at you. That's a real threat, right? But there's also threats that we imagine or that we just think are there. We perceive them to be there, or we remember them. And this is really important for people with PTSD. When you have a flashback, or you remember a threat, your body reacts as if it's happening now. Your physiology goes into survival mode, and it does the same thing whether the threat is right in front of you or whether it's something you remember or imagine or just perceive, even when it's not there. Um, so the body still pays attention, your physiology still reacts, and it causes you to lose access to the front part of your brain. This is what we call this part of the brain is called the neocortex. It's what we also say is the executive brain center. The executive brain center. The executive brain center is where you have conscious choice. That's the thing, is that when you lose access to this part of your brain, your executive brain function, you lose access to conscious choice. And that's really important when it comes to agency. All right. And there are degrees. It's not all at once. Okay. It's not an on and off switch. It's that the more you lose access to the executive brain function, the more the mind is relying on old survival strategies you learned in childhood. This is why anger management classes don't work very well, because the minute someone whose childhood survival strategy was anger gets stressed out, you're too tired, too hungry, too lonely, too bored, too triggered around an old wound, an old trauma, then this change in supply for fuel to the brain happens as the person goes into stress, and they lose their impulse control. Part of the executive brain function is impulse control. This is all going to play into our discussion about men and this online rape academy. So that's why it's important to pay attention to this. I'm trying to make sure that we understand that this is not something that happens to some of us, all of us, because we're human and our physiology works the same way, similarly across people. So this happens to me, and I'm trained in this stuff. I understand what's happening, and even I can get triggered and start to lose my big brain, the big part of me that can meet challenges creatively and with maturity. Karma, you've got a hand up, so I bet you have something great to add or a wonderful question. Please go ahead.
I thought you might appreciate this and maybe want to respond in the comments. I just wanted to bring it up before we switch topics. Martin, he was responding to you and he says, autism is not a mental disorder. It is a different method of thinking. Think about it, Jackie. And then he went on and he said impulse. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention in case you had a response.
I do. My sister, who is 5 years older, is really far on the autism spectrum. And because she's 5 years older than me, autism was a concept people didn't really have hardly any understanding about when she was growing up. And she went through severe abuse for about 2.5 years when she was sent away to the state encouraged their homes and put in a clinical environment or an environment where they thought that they could get more evaluation and better help, because they didn't believe at the time that you could study children in their home environment and actually understand what was going on with them and do a good diagnosis. And that turned into 2.5 years of severe abuse. So I know a lot about autism, and I absolutely do agree that there is neurodivergence. There are different ways different people's brains function, but the physiology of the survival mechanism is the same. My sister has severe PTSD because of what she went through and abuse later at the hands of the state in a state rehabilitation center. She's safe now, but yes, I absolutely get it. And so this is one of the reasons why all of this is so important to me, because I've seen what can happen to someone I love when there is abuse. So I don't want to say too much more about that, but I hope that gives you, Martin, some confidence in what I have to say here, because I'm not talking just theoretically. I am also talking because of lived experience and watching my own sister go through a lot, not to mention many, many other people, including myself, go through situations that people shouldn't have to go through. So I absolutely get it. So I don't know if Martin will comment back, but maybe Karma, if you can watch and see if he does, I would appreciate knowing what his feedback is now. So
years of clinical experience as well as years of study with clients and working directly with people on these issues. So This is not
That's
just
right.
coming out of left field.
That's right. That's right. So thank you, Sochil. And thank you, Karma, for bringing up Martin's comment. I really appreciate it. So,
Yeah.
so I want to, oh, I have to actually share the screen again. But I think that you get now that there's something that happens because of the stress hormones and the way the brain works, that we get this shutting down effect of the front part of our brains. And the front part of our brains is where our mature logic and reasoning, our conscious choice, our ability to meet challenges on an adult level, right? Creatively, that is all housed. Our impulse control, all of that is housed up here in the executive brain function. And when we lose access to that, we end up with access in our minds to childhood survival strategies and not everything that we've learned in recent years or as adults, for example. Just to be clear, it's not an on-off switch. It's a gradual. It can happen quickly, but the degree to which our executive brain function shuts down depends on how far into the survival mechanism we've had to go. All right. So let me go ahead and get back to the visual I have. I want to show you about hypnosis and how it happens. So we were talking about this overload of message units, that there's an overload of message units, and that's the first element of how hypnosis is created. And hypnosis is an increased suggestibility. That's what you need to understand. Suggestibility is how we learn or how we take in information. And so hypnosis is the state of the mind where we're in a more suggestible state. For children and adults, it can look differently, but and for different people with neurodivergence, it can look different as far as how the person appears, whether someone has their eyes closed and is relaxed, or whether they're up moving around. And children are in hypnosis a lot while they play. When they're engaging their imaginations, their eyes are open, they may be laughing and talking and doing things, and yet they're in an increased state of suggestibility because the imagination is so engaged, and they're able to take in information just through the imagination, not just through what's happening in their physical world. And of course, adults can engage their imagination too, but children are very different in hypnosis from how adults tend to be, especially in hypnotherapy, where an adult would likely be relaxed and have their eyes closed much of the time in hypnosis. Not always, but in any case, I'm digressing here. So I want to get back to these 5 elements. So you have an overload of message units. And if you think about the news, that overload of message units is the beginning of this process. Because the next step is that overload of message units disorganizes what's called the inhibitory process. That's your critical mind. It's the part of your mind that stops new things coming into your subconscious programming as if they were real. It stops you from accepting ideas and that don't match what already exists in your subconscious mind. And so it disengages your critical mind. In other words, the filter that you use to stop ideas from coming into your acceptance. Let's see, let me back up and say this a different way. Your critical mind normally is filtering out things that you just know, nah, I don't agree with that. No, that's not true. Or yeah, that could be, but I'm really skeptical about that. Your critical mind also it helps you to decide to rein in your impulses. Your impulse control is part of your inhibitory process. To inhibit something is to stop it, to slow it down. And so your executive brain function is a part of that inhibitory process. It slows down the impulses otherwise you would act on and then regret later. Okay. So so that overload of message units disorganizes that critical mind, that inhibitory process. And what that does is it triggers the fight or flight mechanism. And so that puts you into survival mode. The fight or flight mechanism is your survival mode. And that causes your brain to shut down from the starting here in the front and more towards the back to focus your resources, your blood sugar, your fuel, your oxygen on the older part of the brain to help you survive. And then that fight or flight mechanism going into survival mode leads to number 4, leading to hypersuggestibility. Why? Because when you go into survival mode, your mind is going to be searching for what's the best way to survive here. What can I do to meet this threat? And it will look for any idea that's going to help you survive. So you're more suggestible to what you're being told or what is available to you as an idea to help you survive. And then that leads to the 5th element of hypnosis, which it gives you access to the subconscious mind where you can actually change someone's programming. So I'm going to just say this for those who might not be watching the screen. Hypnosis is created through 5 elements. 1, an overload of message units, which, number 2, disorganizes the inhibitory process, disengaging the critical mind, which 3, triggers fight or flight, which goes to 4, leading to a hypersuggestibility, and 5, gaining access to the subconscious mind. So you've got your hand raised. So before I finish, before I wrap this up, what have you got that you want to say? You're muted, honey. And I say honey because she's my daughter, you guys. Go ahead.
It's so hard to press all the buttons, apparently. Anyhow, some of the language that you're using is really clinical. So I want to ask you to put it into terms that are more relatable for people who haven't worked in mental health so many years. Because would it be fair to say that you're disengaging the critical mind? So basically the gatekeeper that keeps your sets of beliefs, what you already know, what you already believe, protected from outside influence. Would that be a fair way of saying what we're saying here without using the clinical language? You have to unmute.
It too, but what you guys don't understand is she's in another room in a mute and she's trying to talk. You're going to hear it through my mic as well, possibly, and make it harder to hear her. So I'm when she's speaking. But I'm going to just add some English to some simple English to this slide here to make it clearer. So if we think about an overload of message units, this is too much information. It's too much happening. That's all. The overload of message units refers to there being too much happening, too much information coming in. And in the second part, where we're disorganizing the inhibitory process, disengaging the critical mind, it's that we just can't, trying to get my cursor to work. We can't organize it all. There's too much happening. We just can't organize it all. And so we don't know what to do about it. So we don't know what to do about it because it's too much. So, and I have to make this smaller. It's not going to fit on the screen here. So, all right. So if we don't know what to do about it, then that not knowing what to do about it and feeling threatened because it's just too much, the mind's job is to predict everything in order to keep us safe. It's the most important thing to remember about the mind's job. Its job is to predict everything to keep us safe. And I'm going to move this up. So if the mind can't keep up with what's going on, it can't organize what's going on and predict what's going to happen to keep us safe. And that's what sends us into fight or flight. That's what sends us into the survival. And that's what we need to understand about so that's what we need to understand about why we go into survival, because the mind cannot deal with it. There's too much. Doesn't know how to predict what's going to happen when we're being flooded with too much information or too many things happening, especially if they feel threatening. And when we go into survival, then we go into hypersuggestibility because we're looking for somehow to stay safe. So it's ability to anything that will help us feel safe again. And hopefully a lot more clear. And when we get past that and we're getting access to the subconscious mind, that is to change our programming. Let's see here. Oh, no, I don't want that. Go this thing. There we go. To change our programming, to change what we believe and how we're going to feel and how we're going to act. So in our subconscious mind, all of our automatic behaviors about how we're going to feel and how we're going to act and it's our thoughts, feelings, and behavior. It's the scripts. The subconscious mind is the scripts for our thoughts, feelings, and behavior. So if you get access to the scripts or the programming for our automatic thoughts, feelings, and behavior, then you can start to control the outcomes, the outputs for that human. In other words, that person whose programming you're changing, you can use it for good. Like in hypnotherapy, we use this to help the person achieve their goals because they want to think, feel, and behave a new way that is not automatic and easy for them. So if you're using this for ill, to do harm, to get control and manipulate people, this is how you do it. It's still the same tool, the same mechanism. This is the same strategy because it works. It works because of how our nervous systems work. So to return back to the way you have conscious choice again, conscious freedom again, you have to reverse that process and get access again to your frontal neocortex, this part where your forehead is. You have to get access back to your conscious choice. And I kind of messed up my hair. Oh, okay. Now I'll be all right. But my point is that your nervous system is being weaponized. And when you are told that, well, those people over there don't want what you want over here, they're your enemy. The state of Florida just in the last couple of weeks had Governor DeSantis sign into law an anti-terrorism bill. And in that bill, it literally says that an individual, a person who has a different opinion that the opinion of the state is inimical to the state, in other words, a threat to the state, is someone who should be surveilled and eliminated.
Of
That's the job of
course they
the
did.
anti-terrorism bill says that people voted for it, both Democrat and Republican, because it had the word anti-terrorism in it. Because of course we're on team anti-terrorism against the terrorists, and they just did not pay attention to what this means for our Fifth Amendment. Isn't Fifth Amendment right? Fourth Amendment? Which amendment is it? Somebody help me out here. That we have free speech and we can have a different opinion than the state. The First Amendment?
You said free
Karma's going to
speech?
help me
Is
out.
that not the First Amendment?
Probably,
Sure,
but I don't
amendment
know.
it is, but it sounds more important human right issue. So I guess it can carry on without even naming the constitution number, you know.
Yeah, it is a human
I-
rights issue. Thank you very much, Ashfaq. Karma?
I just had a question because it just dawned on me. I don't think I've ever asked this question before, and I don't think I've looked into it. When we think about these bills and these amendments and things like that, where do they come from?
Oh,
From Congress?
are we talking about the Bill of Rights and the Constitution? Excuse me, the amendments to the Constitution, or are we talking about this anti-terrorism bill in Florida that was just passed? Okay.
Yeah, like
so
everything that they vote on the floor, where does that come from?
it's supposed to come out, it's supposed to come into a committee in that state's legislature or in the US Congress. And the committee is supposed to vote, to look at the details of it and then vote to pass it on to the whole body to vote on. And then it goes, if it passes there, then it goes to the governor or the president for signature. And so but where does the bill originate from? The bills usually originate from now, not the legislators, but lobbyists. And
see, that's my point.
Yeah.
Like these amendments and these bills and things like this are not coming from us and then being voted on by them. It's coming from them and being voted on by them.
Yes,
right?
that's right. And in Taiwan,
Okay.
yes, because the contrast in Taiwan is that 80% of the things that people come up with in the democratic online system in Taiwan, 80% of those things are getting passed in their government now, which is why they have increased their approval to 70% of what the government is doing, because the people have a real say. And I think it's important to understand that 250 years ago, when the United States was founded, we had people going on horseback over hundreds of miles to go meet in Congress. And you could not expect the population to stop what they were doing and go be in a democratic auditorium with everybody present to consider and vote on legislation. So what we ended up with was a democratic republic, and the republic part means we have representatives who are supposed to be representing us, the people, and then they're supposed to draft legislation and they're supposed to vote on it representing us and our interests. But that's not what's happening now most of the time. And so our democracy in the United States, the republic, is no longer functioning. And that's the danger, is we have the party in power is doing whatever the president says for the most part, without oversight and without checks and balances. And they're not representing us. So I think it's important to say, oh, Patricia, you've got your hand up. Please come
Yeah,
in.
I think it's very complex. Multiple ways a bill can come up. But they need a sponsor to get it before Congress. Pharmaceutical companies have their lobbyists to go in and write then they find someone to sponsor it. Lobbyists give money to these congressmen, as do other groups like ALPAC, and these people influence those votes. So none of these receive influence from us. They're all people who have something to gain from it, mostly
Yes.
money. That's all I wanted
Yes.
to share. So don't think it's the Congress deciding these. These things are presented and they're lobbied to put these before and to vote on them. And then you've got these executive orders that are rolling out like crazy as though they have all this power, even counter to the Constitution. And they're being accepted as being okay. So nobody seems to question this. That's all I wanted to say.
You make such excellent
I am
points.
questioning it right now. That's why I was like, where do they come from? Because I also saw something on California last night in a bill that specifically Uber is trying to get passed through, where it passes the burden of medical needs after a car accident onto the victim. And Uber is a big,
Powerful.
I guess, lobbyist
Right.
for that, because they wanted to protect them from, car accidents, from rideshare. But what it's not going to do is only affect rideshare. It's going to affect all accidents and all people of California, unfortunately. So that's like,
That
that was one of the reasons that I was wondering, like, where do they originate from? And I think that ties into the very beginning of our conversation. We were like, well, what does democracy mean to you? And I think that is a big part, if not the biggest part of it, because all of those bills, all of that legislation ultimately influences every single aspect of our life. Those are the policies, and those policies are not coming from the people. They're coming from those that want to benefit from it, but it's only coming from the people that only want power over the people. If
Absolutely.
not great
Yep.
words, but I think I got my point
You
across.
Oh, Karma,
Got it.
you nailed it, sweetheart. You absolutely nailed it. And this is why a movement of international online democracy is so important, because we need to return the inputs back to the people, meaning we need to have the say. We need to be able to say what we want, because it's not working to let our representatives do that when they are no longer representing us. They're representing the moneyed interests. And so that's why what we're doing here is so important. And uh, if we are complete with that idea, I would like to move us into the next phase. Is that okay? Because we're at about 2 hours now. Is that okay? Okay. Um, so why did I spend all this time talking about hypnosis and suggestibility and reprogramming people's minds? It's because these divisions, these artificial divisions, yes, there are things we don't agree on, but if they can stop us from looking at what we do agree on and uniting behind what we do want, all of us, then they can disarm us. They can stop us from having any real impact on our government. And not just our government, but on the way commerce, with the way economics works, the way businesses do business. If they can make us think we have no power and that we don't agree with each other, so why bother? then they win in advance. They stop us from having any power because we give it up. We resign ourselves, and that's part of the programming that they're trying to create. At this point, I want to move us into this discussion, and I know it's a big can of worms, and we aren't going to be able to finish it today. But Karma, you sent an article from Substack that alerted us to this online rape academy. And I want to steer the conversation in a direction that you all might not expect. And that is that the first reaction that we are likely to have because we feel so threatened by the idea that men are training men online to drug their wives and girlfriends and abuse them on video while other men pay to watch and direct their activities. That's horrifying. Right there, that's a whole lot of message units. It's too much. And that is enough to trigger most women into a sense of survival mode, to feel threatened. Because it feels very threatening when we think about, gee, how many men, 50,000 watch this one video. Does that mean that most men are like this? And what I want to do is say, think about what does that get the people who want power? If they can trigger us into trauma, they win because they can reprogram, make us more suggestible to feeling unsafe and that men are against us and we can't fix this. Only men can fix this and they don't want to. There's this whole line of thought that can happen. And that division and that trauma is designed to hijack our nervous systems so that we go into a trauma response. And those trauma responses, I'm sure Patricia can talk about because she has years of psychotherapy experience. But the trauma response keeps us from having conscious choice about how we're going to see this and how we're going to respond. They want us to just react. They want us to be in reaction mode, not response mode. And they want us to think that not only are we divided, white people against people of color, and the MAGA versus the liberals, they want us divided on so many fronts that we feel like we are just alone and we have to fight for our little group over the table scraps. It's to keep us busy and to keep us from feeling like we have any power at all. And so I want to just say, I want to begin this conversation in a different place. I want to begin with the end in mind. And I want to say what that is in a minute because Patricia has her hand up and I'm sure has something great to tell us. Please go ahead, Patricia. Oh, you're muted, sweetheart. You'll have to unmute because we can't hear you.
It's criminal behavior. Call it what it is. It should be reported.
Oh, yeah.
It should be reported immediately to somebody that'll listen in authority.
Yes, I 100% agree.
Yes, it's a long period to get over that, and it's very, very traumatizing. So I agree, but it's unbelievable that this should be going on, but not so given what
Yes.
we've got going on with the Epstein class.
Yes,
my
Right.
I think that's the only reason that, these kinds of stories are getting, I say, headlines, that they should, is because of the whole Epstein thing. So there's a lot more people paying attention. That article was originally published in March, at the end of March, and it didn't blow up on Substack until the other day. And that just blows my mind, honestly. And then it gives me these weird feelings towards the people that also investigated and waited to publish for their story. I struggle with that kind of thing. I know it's probably not that simple, but I do struggle with knowing that that investigation has been going on for a really long time and the world hasn't known. So yeah.
Well, I appreciate that comment, and that's part of, I think, the part of the strategy of divide and conquer is to make us think that what is, or what we're finding out now, is the way it's always been. And what I like to put out there is that it hasn't always been to the degree that we're seeing, where men are recruiting other men online to learn these techniques and then enjoy, each other's criminal behavior. What I would like to say is that we didn't have the technology to recruit other men and radicalize them to this kind of giving into the base behaviors. It's evil, and it's acting out on impulses that, even if someone has a brief fantasy for whatever reason about, well, I just wish I could drug my wife and do whatever I want with her. Probably there's a lot of men out there who've occasionally had some kind of similar idea, that they just wish that they could get the women in their lives to do what they want. And so this is playing out a fantasy, though, in real life, that is extremely harmful and tends to normalize deviance. And the problem is that when you normalize deviance, you get more deviance. And so the myth, though, is that this deviance is the way men are. That this is just how they really are underneath it all. That's the fear, that all men, or many men, too many men, are like this, and we can't make it stop. And I'm looking at it, I'm zooming out and looking at a bigger picture of what does the patriarchy, or what do those in control and power gain by subjugating women again? Because we have J.D. Vance, for example, talking about, well, let's take the vote away from women. And there's Pete Hegseth's Pastor Wilson saying that women shouldn't have the vote, that men should vote for their households. And there's this movement among white Christian nationalists that want to put back under the thumb of men, so that we don't really have rights, and we get our existence in public life through a man. And these are things that are being publicly stated in ways that they wouldn't dare have said 20 or 30 years ago. And I think Patricia and I are here, old enough to remember when Democrats and Republicans actually did do a lot of bipartisan legislation, and that we've seen a drift away from that, especially starting in the 90s and even going back into the 80s, because we went through kind of a golden age after World War II in a way. Nothing, no age is perfect, but I am saying that there was more agreement in Congress about getting things done for the American people from after World War II through really the 70s generally. And yet we still had a lot of problems to deal with. I am not painting it as a golden age in the United States, but we've been around, I think, long enough to see that democracy worked a little bit better in some ways. That representatives really did work with each other. And now we're in a state where it's all about power, and it's blatantly about power, and it's about power that men, they think, have over women as well. And how do you subjugate a people? You brutalize them. You make the threat of cruelty a bludgeon. You make the threat of cruelty so great that you can get people to obey in advance, like Timothy Snyder talks about. This book by Timothy Snyder on tyranny. It's a little book, looks big in the camera, but it's 20 lessons from the 20th century on tyranny. On tyranny is the name of the book, and the subtitle is 20 lessons from the 20th century. But he talks about in the very first lesson about obeying in advance. So if you can use cruelty to get people to leave the country, immigrants I'm talking about now, if you can get immigrants to self-deport because they don't want to be brutalized and detained by ICE, you get them to obey in advance. If you can get women to think that men are dangerous and to oppose a man or to oppose men generally is going to get you killed or drugged and abused on camera, on video, then you get women to shut up. You get women to stop opposing because they're fearing for their safety. And so, on the other hand, if we begin with the end in mind and remember that the world is not always like this, there are far more men who would not abuse women by drugging them and sexually abusing them on video, while other men pay to watch and direct their behavior. Xochitl and I were talking about, we're members of the Elks, and when my mother was declining, and when she died, we were staying on the property of an Elks Lodge, and the men in the Elks Lodge were very protective of us while we were there dealing with what was happening in our family. And we know that the way those men felt about abuse towards women, Xochitl was younger, and there was some man who was giving Xochitl unwanted attention. And the men in the lodge, the minute they knew that there was something going on, they made sure that stopped, period. They were very protective. And I have no doubt that those men, if they knew that there was a man who was drugging his wife and on video sexually assaulting her for the pleasure of other men, they would have stopped that man. And I'm just saying that men are not all the same, and it is not normal for men to have this kind of criminal behavior. And yes, it's true that men need to be talking to other men to stop it, and stop the talk that leads to it and the attitudes that lead to it, and that the attitudes that make this deviance more normalized or easier. And those men are greater in number than the men who are doing the criminal behavior. And how do we want the world to be? If we begin with the end in mind, what world do we want to live into? Not the world that we're seeing with these perpetrators. So, Patricia, you have another comment. I'm going to stop. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you for bringing it up. But I don't know that rape hasn't gone on for centuries and centuries and centuries. But I think it also is a sign of it's a power issue in many instances. Not the only thing, but one of the things is about power. And Nick Pera, who's on Substack, is running a group called Intelligent Masculinity. I think the men should take on this topic. It's a reflection on them more so than on us women. And I think it's a masculinity issue. And you see that in JD Vance and Trump and all the other of these guys who are abusing women. The problems are their masculinity. So I would
Yes.
send it to them too and get some activity there. It's not for us looking at democracy to go take that on as an issue, but it's certainly, I'm sure it's disheartening to people to see it going on.
I agree with everything you said. Absolutely. And I think that what we have to do is to decide as women, what is our response? And democratically coming together, what is our response? And our response, in my mind, has to be to resist the attempt to traumatize us, to use the news of this cruelty and our fear that we might be the next victim, because how would you know? I mean, uh, uh, Pellicoat, what's her first name? It's escaping me. She Giselle, that's what I wanted to say. Giselle Pellicoat, thank you, Xochitl. Giselle Pellicoat didn't know that what her husband was doing to her, and most of these victims don't know. And so that leaves us with this thought in our minds, well, how would we ever know? Is it safe to be with any man? Because how would we know that he's not going to do stuff like this to us? And that fear is contagious, but so is courage. So is the ability to stand up and respond and say, I want a different world. I want a world where I and my daughters and my sisters and my mother do not have to be afraid to be in a relationship with a man. And how do we create that? And that's the question that I have, because it's not enough to just be outraged that men are, some men are doing this wildly criminal behavior. It is not enough for us to know that we need to be careful and watch for red flags in our own relationships and teach each other about what those red flags are and how to protect ourselves, because that's a reality. It's not enough to do that if we don't work towards creating the world we wish to live into. And so that's why I'm saying that we want to have safety first, of course, but we also want to be visionary, and we want to come together. And a great way to do that is democratically online in groups like this, and take actions to demand what it is that we want for the world we wish to live into. Because if we don't do that, then we just, it's like obeying in advance because we are resigned to the trajectory we seem to be on, that this is this future and there's nothing we can do about it. And I refuse thing I can do about it, because together we can do a lot. All right, I have to stop because Karma and Social both have good things.
I wanted to touch on, I think, I'm not sure if Patricia brought it up as well, but the part about this story where it's the husbands, it's the person that she trusts maybe the most, the person she lays down with at night and can go to sleep feeling safe. And I don't want to blend the two together because they're very different, but that reminds me of the relationship I had with my mom when I was little. She showed me that I could not trust anyone because I could not trust her. And unfortunately, that's what these few, not all, we know that. We don't have to keep saying that. We know that. But that's what these men are doing to women. And directly and indirectly. If you cannot trust your husband, if you cannot feel safe with your husband or whoever you live with, your partner, who can you trust? Who can you feel safe with if not with them? And that is a big part that a lot of people don't say or don't talk about. Like, obviously, yes, the behavior, it's abhorrent, but the psychological aspect of not being able to trust that person, sometimes the psychological aspects of trauma and what you have to go through they linger on for so much longer than the physical pain, the physical abuse and things like that. I I know. But I put on, you touched on this as well. I shared something earlier on my page, and I brought up the fact that, and I don't know if anyone is familiar with Hi Mama, but I like to watch her videos as well. She can be very blunt, to say the least. But she also said it, as girls and teenagers, we are raised to fear men, to protect ourselves against men. If our father is involved, they are the first ones to raise us that way. Because why do we think that is? Even if he is a good man, even if he is not a criminal and he has never done anything like that before, why do you think fathers protect their daughters and raise them that way? They can't keep walking around and pretend they don't know, because they do. It's that locker room talk. They all giggle and laugh and brush it off their shoulder. It ain't no thing. It is a big thing. We have all been, I'm not going to say all of us, as women. I don't know that I have talked to a woman in the last 2 months that has not experienced some kind of either just violence or sexual violence from a partner, from a stranger, whatever. We walk out of the grocery store and we rush to our car and we ignore the hey ma'am, that's coming from behind us, because that could be the guy that day. He could be that guy, and then you get called a bitch because you continue to walk, because you are safety first. And it's gotta change. Like, it has to change. And I think it was Ashvak, he put in the chat, my wife tells me not every man is like you. I understand her and I wish I could do something about it. I just told you what you can do about it. You can have these conversations, speak with other men. I don't know what else has to happen to show that these voices, other than to other women, these voices don't mean jack to a man. If they did, we wouldn't continue this cycle on and on and on and on for years and years and years. So that is what you can do. You can have conversations with your male friends. You can talk about it, that you can start doing things about it.
Absolutely
Sorry,
agree with
Xochitl, I know
you.
you have your hands up.
Yeah. Go ahead, honey. What you said is really important, Karma, um, because let me lower my hand. I find it distracting. um, so I have a lot of different layers that have been surfacing in my mind to talk about. And what you brought up, Karma, with being able to acknowledge the betrayal that we women feel, especially, but um, betrayal is a human experience. When someone we trust or something that we trust does the opposite of the standards, the agreement that we've had that says you're safe with me,
and instead actively that person or thing uses that trust that we have in them and betrays it to abuse us instead, to treat us as objects, to treat us as less than, to treat us as though we have no feelings and no voice, like we are just a stick of furniture. That betrayal is a violation of trust, of the agreement that we have that with another person that says, yeah, you are safe here with me. I will treat you with respect and honor, and I will care for you, and I care about you. And because I care about you, I will listen to you. I will work with you and honor your needs and your desires. And I won't cross the boundaries that would dishonor your agency, your voice, and what it is that you need to feel and be safe in the world and with me. And what I would love is to see more men honor themselves by standing in not just solidarity, but in the honoring of us women. Because when you are honoring women, you are honoring yourself by recognizing that you have an impact and that your agreements, your how you exercise your agency as a man leaves marks. You leave a trail through your behavior and through your thoughts, through your words, through your deeds, and through your presence, whether you are um, see, one of the things I'm noticing is how even some of the men that I trust have a really hard time having hard conversations about how their behavior towards us is harmful. And I had an experience with a father figure where the agreement between us was very explicit. It was actually stated multiple times that he would be a father figure to me, that the relationship was that of father-daughter. And even though he said that, what he did was try to French kiss me when I was giving him a hug. And I'm using this as an example because it's illustrates the betrayal, but it's also the most mild violation I have personally experienced. And I don't want to re-traumatize anyone with any of the more serious stuff I've experienced. Not that this wasn't serious, it was, because the emotional impact of that was recognizing that I couldn't trust his word, that my idea and what a father ought to be what it means to be a father is that he respects and protects his daughter and honors her and her beauty and her whole being, that she's smart, that she has a big heart, that she's fierce, that she's funny, and that he protects her from the leering objectification that sexualizes her as only a sexual object and nothing else. That he exists, that a woman just exists for a man's pleasure, and that she's basically not human, which is how I have witnessed a lot of men, even subconsciously, fall into that, where even if they don't intend it on a conscious level, it's so ingrained in how the society thinks about women that they don't recognize that that's what they're doing in how they treat us and how they behave towards us. So the betrayal I felt, where I couldn't feel like I could trust this guy to honor his word about being a father, I realized that his impulse and desire was more important to him than the agreement and protecting me and honoring me as a human being. And he couldn't acknowledge that. And his son, who is close to me, has been having a hard time having the conversation with me around exactly how that the culture was not the only thing at play, and that the real root issue was the betrayal of the father-daughter agreement. And one of the things I have learned is that it is a beautiful thing to have the healthy desire to want to be in connection and relating with men in a way that is joyful, where we're actually safe because they honor and cherish us and they want to celebrate our existence and our contribution to the world and to their lives, and that they value that and want to help that grow and encourage us to show up and participate in the community. And I want to see men do more of that too. And that, to me, is how we women can also help support men in redefining masculinity and what it means to be human and male. Because one of the things I've noticed is so much of what the conversation has been feels like trying to parse out an old story of masculinity that is about dominance and control and power over, rather than recognizing that self-mastery and self-determination and honing that power within, because power, when directed with love, because love is the greatest power, it moves worlds, it creates everything. That standing in that place, men don't need to lash out because they can be vulnerable and sit with their desires and ask for what they want and need without trying to take, without trying to extract or exert or manipulate, trying to abuse and force something that they think that they need a one way when maybe they aren't even recognizing their own needs because the culture, I've noticed how a lot of men don't always even know that they are having feelings. And they'll tell you, like research has shown that they'll tell you, well, I'm not feeling anything because men particularly have often been conditioned to suppress their emotions to the point where there are some men where research has found that they can't even recognize facial expressions and what those emotional cues are. That is sad. All because, and that all of that because of the idea that emotions make you weak. That is not, that's antithetical to being human. And it is okay for men to acknowledge that they have feelings and learn how to work with them, because learning to work and honor learning to work with and honor your emotions and how to respond to them and how to respond in your activity, your actions, how to respond in your behavior with others and with yourself, that's a skill. And that is something that women are conditioned, encouraged. We have to train that from a very, very young age because of the role, the story of what it means to be feminine in most cultures, particularly Western culture, which, by the way, we have mostly exported around the world. And that's another topic. So to wrap up these thoughts, or to try to put a little bow on it, for me, I want to see the story of humanity where we can, each of us, honor our whole humanness and stand in our individual sovereignty and agency and authority, and allow everyone else to do the same. And what that requires is a mindset and a heart set and a skill set that is entirely learnable, and I would advocate is actually inherent to the human spirit. But rediscovering that foundation, that ground in our being, is a conversation that I hope we get to continue having here and in our own channels later through Positively Hub. So, yeah, working together. That's part of why this ties back into democracy, is everyone mattering and having a voice. And how do we relate to one another as human beings and men and women in ways that honor us, all of us, because we all count. So thank you. I'm complete.
Well, that was beautiful. Thank you. And folks, I get to list, I get to live with this heart that is in Sochtel and this beautiful mind that's in Sochtel every day. We work together in our business, and I have to say that I am so lucky to have my daughter as my best friend. And I have to say, we arrived at that relationship that we have through learning the skills, the insights, the practices to have a healthy relationship. And that is the future we can live into, is having healthier relationships. And part of that path is democracy. But that's not the only part, because democracy, for it to function, requires healing. And I just have to say that that's the healing that has to begin, and it begins as an inside job. It's the healing is inside each one of us. And I want to talk about that briefly. I'm going to share the screen again because I want you to see this this graphic so that you can understand it easier. This is Cartman's triangle. It's been around a really long time. What?
Can I
Go
mention
ahead.
one thing before you go on?
Yes.
Because it's also really important. Um, there's a theme I'm noticing, and that is that we tend to put people on a pedestal because we see something in them that we admire, and we think it's static, like it's been that way, it's always will be that way, and that it will always change, and they have something we don't. No. When my mom was saying, when Jackie was saying that we have practiced and learned these skills, I have to tell you that it is an ongoing practice. Like even sitting here with you guys now, speaking, I am practicing speaking. My life is a practice and a set of experiments. And it's a process. And one of the biggest gifts that I have found is that because it's a process, because it's about practice and being in the activity of it, it's not about a perfection that is a fixed ideal. The practice is actually where you hone, and the process of practicing is a perfection in and of itself. This development of skill is part of the perfection. And so things are not ever to the highest ideal that we can imagine when it comes to human experience. We are dynamic, evolving beings. We are shifting, we are growing, we have ebbs and flows. Sometimes we do better than we do other times, depending on a whole host of factors. And that is okay. That is how we learn. That's how we continue to get better. That's how we can course correct ourselves and make adjustments and find new ways that work and experiment with new aspects and new insights and new ways of doing things that maybe we didn't see before. And that's glorious. We get to be messy. We get to have fun with it. And we still get to hold ourselves to high standards. And that's okay too, even if we fall down. Having a community of support that reminds you that I know that you can be better and that you can come back to integrity with your heart and your being and who you came here to be. And I'll reflect back to you. Maybe you didn't do it as well as you had intended. And reflecting back and supporting with love rather than judgment. And learning to do that for ourselves. That is a continuing practice too. So I wanted to put all of that out there because I see so much of how um, we can put people in a hierarchical idea that somehow they have something I don't, and that's not true. You do have it. You just may need to learn some new skills and practices and then adopt a new mindset about it that you can learn and that you have it within you and that you can access that. So thank you.
Well, and that gets into where we need to understand that this being human is a journey. Being human is a practice. Democracy is a practice. That there isn't anyone doing any part of that perfectly. No one is free of the possibility of being better than who they are being today. And I also say that a lot of people will say, well, the past is the best predictor of the future. And I say, no, it's not, unless you want to just keep repeating the past. A friend of mine years and years ago told me, asked the question, do you have 20 years of experience or do you have 1 year's experience 20 times? Do you have 20 years of experience or do you have 1 year's experience 20 times? Every day we get to choose who we want to be. And for all the men and women out there who feel traumatized or feel like they're justified in saying or doing whatever it is that they are saying or doing that might be harmful to another person just because they've been through some trauma or someone's done them wrong, this is what I have to say to you. Do you want to keep repeating the same patterns that you've been in the past, or do you want something new, something better? And if you want something new and you want something better, you have to break out of the old pattern. And for both women and men, whether you're a victim or a perpetrator, this is what I want to show you. This Cartman's triangle is a way for you to understand that there's a trap that you're in when you're in any one of these three roles. Cartman's drama triangle is where there's just a perpetrator, a victim, and a rescuer. And you can be one of these at a time, or you can swap roles very easily. Because I'll start with the victim. The victim is the person that feels wronged, that something bad happened to them. They lost something. They got hurt. They got abused somehow. And what does a victim want? A victim wants two things: to be made whole and to punish. That's what a victim wants: to be made whole and to punish. So when you're in this role, you're looking for who can you punish and who's going to make you whole because you don't have it within you to make yourself whole for whatever reason. But when you punish, you swap roles. You become the perpetrator. And the perpetrator then does unto others, an eye for an eye. You've heard that from the Old Testament of the Bible. And much of our culture runs on an eye for an eye to punish the perpetrator. Why? Because we think that if we punish the perpetrator, we're going to get them to stop their bad behavior. And somehow that will make the victim whole. That is how much of our justice system is designed. However, when you punish someone, they become a victim. And we're right back to this side of Cartman's triangle, where the victim feels like they're wronged, something bad happens to them, they're no longer whole, and they want to punish. And it's very hard to escape going back and forth between being a victim and a perpetrator. And the rescuer role. And the rescuer, what do they want? They want the drama to stop between the perpetrator and the victim. They want the victim to be okay, and they want the perpetrator to stop their bad behavior. So what does the rescuer do? Many times they try to help the victim, and they try to make the victim feel okay again. And in the process, they take away the victim's free choices, because the rescuer sometimes think they know better what the victim needs than what the victim thinks they need. And we have a lot of systems in our society that are set up to rescue, and then they keep the victim locked in the role of not whole, not able to decide for themselves, not able to take care of themselves, and not able to respond to ask for what they really want and need from this dangerous person up here, or this dangerous element in society called the perpetrator. So what happens when the rescuer tries to help the victim sometimes is the victim will see the rescuer trying to take over the conscious choices of the victim, and the victim starts to think of the rescuer as a perpetrator, as someone else taking away their freedoms, their agency, their conscious choices, and thinking that they know better, that this rescuer thinks they know better what the victim needs than what the victim knows for themselves. And so the victim sees the rescuer is now a perpetrator. These roles, perpetrator, rescuer, and victim, are where we are locked in rape culture. Men who feel like they are not getting what they want from women, or they're not getting what they want from the economy, or they're not getting the status that they believe they're entitled to, or they feel a loss of control in other areas of their life. This is one area they can have control over someone, something, and feel strong again, that that's somehow going to make them whole. They become perpetrators. And women who feel, well, who get raped, who get abused, if they stay in this role of victim, they're never going to feel whole again. They're never going to feel like that they can be safe. And sometimes the conclusion is, well, the only way I can stop being victimized is to do something back to the perpetrator. Or the only way I can be okay is if there's a rescuer taking care of me. And yes, I might not get to have a say anymore, but maybe somebody will protect me. And a lot of women who look at, well, if we gave up our vote and let men vote for us, then at least we'll be okay, and our children will be okay because there'll be a man protecting us. That's what a lot of traditionalists are trying to, that they're trying to support the white Christian nationalism, in part because they think that that's going to stop the women from being victims. And this triangle is not helping anyone, because nobody is free in this triangle. Nobody has full agency and conscious choice about getting their wants and needs met in a way that's healthy. So how do we escape from this triangle? That's the work of healing. That's where we start to have new insights, new skills, understand about our own agency, that we have, and the freedoms that other people have, and where is the line. One of the things that I think we need is to have an understanding of how do we heal from Cartman's triangle? How do we escape the perpetrator, victim, rescuer trap? And that is the future work. that we have to build a world where everybody gets to have conscious choice and agency. We really have to do that work, escaping Cartman's triangle and reclaiming conscious choice and understanding where do my freedoms start and end, and where do your freedoms start and end. Without an understanding of where those freedoms start and end for each person, we cannot have democracy. And we won't have an end to violence against women. We won't have an end to violence, whether it's against women or whether it's against men or against humanity. And that's the work of the democratic movement can do something about this. So I understand we need to wrap up, and I want to just go ahead and turn it back over to Xochitl. And what say you, Xochitl?
Hey, I want to make a couple distinctions about Cartman's triangle and the roles of perpetrator, victim, and rescuer. From my personal experience, I've learned that there's a big difference between, let me phrase it a little differently to try to put it in a way that might connect better. Think about the rescuer and perpetrator and victim as roles that you take on, as if you were in a play or a movie. When things get sticky is when you start believing that you are the role you're playing. When you begin identifying yourself with that role as if that were the entirety of who you are, I have seen and I see every day where uh, people who've been victimized go into victimhood and they feel powerless. And I see how perpetrators who adopt and the identity of a perpetrator start to feel like there's no healing for them, that they can't come back from and redeem themselves and take new action to become in right relationship again and be accountable for their misdeeds and start anew. They don't feel like there's a path forward for them, and they figure, why should I bother? Why should I try to change and think differently and behave differently? Nobody's going to accept me. It won't matter. Why should I try? That's heartbreaking too. And then rescuers taking on that as their identity. There's a lot of self-sacrifice that goes on there where they feel responsible for healing the world and maybe sacrificing themselves in the process. And that comes with its own host of things that are devolve us and are dysfunctional. Um, so I have learned through my own experience that there's a huge difference between being victimized and being in the victimhood. Victimhood is where you're taking on being a victim as your identity. where you feel helpless and powerless. Now, there's a difference between honoring that feeling and noticing that you have the feeling that you can't um, do anything about that. But staying with that as your identity and what you believe about yourself, that is where it gets messy. So you can be targeted by someone where someone is victimizing you, and still recognize that you're getting hurt or you've been hurt, but you are not tied or bound to forever accepting or the abuse. You don't have to tolerate abuse. So there's a big difference between being victimized and being in victimhood. And I hope I've made that clear. I know that we need to wrap up because Karma needs to go. And is there anything else that we want to say in closing? Karma, do you want to say something before you need to leave? We'll wrap up.
I don't have anything to add to the topic. I think I really enjoyed today's discussion. I just happened to glance at the time and was like, holy shit, it's been 3 hours. Like, so, no, I have, dinner to start getting ready and the kids, but I just wanted to thank all of you for being here. Everyone that joined us today as well. It has been a really good conversation. It's been very eye-opening. It's been very healing to be able to talk through these kind of things with like-minded individuals, even if we, share some disagreements, we still, we can still talk and come from a place of love and all of the things. So I just appreciate you guys for everything today. You really helped me so much. I would not have been able to do or say what I did on here today if it weren't for the help of all of you guys. So thank you so much. And there are multiple lives from IOD Nations throughout the week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. And this meeting that we're having right now, the Women's Suffragette Saturdays, it's every Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific, and 2 p.m. Eastern. I plan to be here again next week. So please come back and have another conversation with us, and I'll wrap that up, hand it over to you guys.
I just want to say thank you too. I know that we had, last I looked, well over 100 people watching on Substack Live, and there may be a lot of people who didn't comment exactly on Substack. You're just listening in, and it's my hope, my prayer, that every one of us here recognizes that not only do we have power to heal ourselves, but by healing ourselves, we are doing the work of helping to heal democracy. It starts with us. It starts with us understanding that how we show up in the world with our hearts and our minds and what we want to dream into being in the world, that makes a difference because it inspires others. Just like fear is contagious, so is courage. And the courage, the willingness to dare to dream of a better world and to speak up and share what that vision is, to have the better world, that is also contagious. We invite you to make your own video, 30 seconds, 90 seconds, an hour, whatever you want, about what does democracy mean to you, and post it on Substack, post it on YouTube, post it on whatever social media platforms you want to be on, because you're also training the algorithm to start thinking about democracy in a new way too, and all the people who will see it. So I'm Jackie Ambro, applied anthropologist, hypnotherapist. We've had Karma and Sochlo, my daughter Sochlo, on here, as well as we had other guests on, Patricia and of course Ashfaq talked, and he wants to talk here in a minute too. And Draco wants to play our video that is about IOD nations as we close out as our final thing. And before we play that video, Ashfaq, would you like to say what's on your mind and heart, please?
Yes, I want to know if the Twisters workshop is a private thing or a open thing.
Oh, yes. Well, I don't think it has to be entirely private, but we are not going to stream it on Substack. Tuesday, I've offered with Ashfaq and I are going to do this together. Ashfaq, see, my mouth is just not working here.
It's okay.
Ashfaq will be working with helping people understand how to use Claude AI to make strategizing and creating actions that we can take democratically online, crafting emails and materials to use to start tilting things back towards democracy and towards a democratic international online presence. We're going to talk with people about how to, it's an actual workshop. We're going to do work in the workshop and show you how you can use technology to make that kind of work easier and less time consuming, and get a better email written, for example, or a better strategy written, about frame we take back democracy online, internationally, democratically. And that's Tuesday at I guess starting at noon Pacific, isn't it? Because I said 3 o'clock, I think. Tuesday, I'm looking at my calendar. Oh, I'm in August on my calendar. No wonder I can't find it. Okay, on my calendar, Tuesday, we have it scheduled for 3 p.m. Eastern US time. That's New York, United States time. And that would be noon California time, Pacific time. And I don't know what that would be in your part of the globe if you're watching internationally. But it will maybe an up to a 3-hour workshop. We might only need 2 hours, but I bet we're going to end up going 3 hours. So that would be Tuesday, and how will the invitation? It's going to be on Zoom, and we are going to record it. So you can watch it later. And our gentlemen here, Ashfaq, Rakesh, and Draco, who are our tech wizards, they're the ones who are helping make this happen. And Ashfaq has put in the Zoom chat what the
Yes,
Zoom
I
is.
was
But
wondering if I should post it on Substack live feed so that people can come in. It's up to you. I
okay.
mean, you decide whether you want to do it with a few people or make it open so that anybody comes in.
Well, I think we'll want people to come and be respectful of it being a workshop, and that if they want to come in and learn, great. But it's not going to be the place where we're going to do this kind of session and talk too much about democracy. It's going to be how do we gain tools? How do we use tools, right?
Yep.
And the other thing is that we're going to talk about collaboration. How do we collaborate with AI? That's another key piece of it. And why do we want to collaborate with AI? So if you're interested in those topics, then please join the Zoom on Tuesday. Or how are you going to get the replay out to those who want it? Are they going to email and request it, or how do you guys want to do that?
Do it live, then it will automatically be recorded. And if we do a summary article with the transcript and publish it on Substack, all of our followers will get an email. So that's one of the best ways, like less work, more impact. But if you don't want to do live, then we have to record it on Zoom and then upload it in YouTube or in Substack, and then go from there.
Okay, I thought to do it in Substack Creator Studio, which is not live, so that we could then create it to publish it later. Are we still doing it then?
Recording option that's like newly added on Substack, so we can record inside Substack, and then we can edit out the parts that we don't want, and
right.
So yeah,
that would be awesome. I think that would work better, because if we have time in the replay that isn't going to be so helpful because it's just talking, conversation, then we can cut that out.
Yep.
Okay.
We'll try that out. Okay.
Very good. All right. And thank you. Is there anything else, Ashfaq, before we go to Sochthol, because we're getting ready to close here?
Yes. I mean, not exactly that we should talk here, but you and I need to talk about what we are going to, the outline, the agenda and stuff. Later, we can do it sometimes when you are free. So that's all from me. Just Tilly can come in and speak.
All right. Well, we can stop the live stream and talk right after this.
Okay.
Right. So let's do that.
All
and
right.
that way we don't have to organize another meeting. Sochthol has her hand up, and then Draco's going to play the video, and then we're going to stop the live stream. So Sochthol, go ahead.
Buttons. Karma, I think that we are set. If you need to go, you should head out. Thank you so much for joining us. Made such a difference in being able to have a conversation with you, and for everyone on Substack too, I am certain. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Bye.
Bye. While we are closing out, just about the workshop on Tuesday that we are doing, it is all about the interpersonal relational skills of how do you collaborate with humans and with AI to organize and to develop both ideas and systems that set new standards or enforce standards that allow us to operate democratically. So the same skills that make human relationships work are what make collaboration and partnership work among humans with AI. So we can accelerate our impact by partnering with each other as human beings and partnering with AI to create the brighter future that is possible when we come together and decide that's what we're doing. So that's what the workshop is about, is the implementation, the strategy, and the mindset that helps propel us forward into that brighter future. So I wanted to really emphasize that.
Thank you so much. So
Okay.
Let's
yeah.
up, I guess. Jackie, or do you have anything?
Just to emphasize that we're going to talk about collaboration skills that you need both with humans and with AI. And we're going to talk about how to use AI, because Ashfaq's an expert on doing that as well. And it's going to be good. So please, if you're interested in that for your own use, to help with democracy or to help your business or to help create on Substack or wherever you create, this is something that could be beneficial to you. And I think that Draco's got the video queued up. So we want to thank everyone for being here. And when the video finishes, we're going to be peace out and hope to see you all again. Thank you, Draco. Thank you, Ashfaq. And thank you, Rakesh. You guys are awesome.
Thank you all for being
Well,
here.
yeah. Thank you so much as well. We loved the whole thing. So let's hear from Draco's video.
Hello, good people. Myself, Draco, your agent of peace. I have been working with IOD nations from the very beginning, and we are designing a system where war is never an option. We believe women hold a unique power, the power to stop wars and break the cycle of violence, and we are taking a powerful step forward. By uniting online, women from all over the world are officially forming the International Online Democratic Women's Nation, IOD Women's Nation. This is not only for women. If you believe in peace, freedom and democracy, this is for you. Because peace is not passive. Peace needs structure. If we don't design peaceful systems, chaos designs itself.
Okay, Draco, let's close it out. Let us know when the live stopped, okay? Oh, okay. So Draco needs 2 minutes to copy the chats from Zoom and Substack. So please bear with us for a moment. So, hey, Rakesh bro, are you still here? Okay, you can close it out, Draco.